let's just start here. Whether this is what happened or whether it is not what happened doesn't actually matter with the charts we're about to look at. Bitcoin crashes, retraces gains amid unconfirmed US government dump rumors. Here's just a version of one of the rumors, right? Mt. Gox and US government wallets making transactions. Arkham alert. This was earlier today around 4 p.m. Eastern time. What does the chart look like on Bitcoin? This is the 6 hour. Look at that red candle. Interestingly enough, surrounding the context of US government selling Bitcoin, that candle on the daily candle more specifically is extremely familiar with this narrative of US government selling Bitcoin. I'm going to show you an interesting chart from March, and we're going to break down the Bitcoin move and what's happening right now and what to anticipate. We're also going to look at Cardano charts in this video. So please hit the subscribe, hit the like, and let's talk about this. I started by saying, let's put aside whether it's unconfirmed, confirmed, put aside that. We say all the time, news events often trigger technical analysis moves. And this is a perfect example. No matter what happened here, this entire event, right, confirmed, unconfirmed, basically played right into what we were waiting for. And we recorded a Bitcoin video earlier. We were discussing, this is what we've been tracking, this break to the downside out of that trend line of that rising channel, the pullback scenario. It was playing out earlier today. And you can actually see, I'm not going to play the clip, but this is from the video earlier that I did. And you can just see Bitcoin within this lower high channel at this trend line. We were looking for a bullish confirmation, a break above that area. We were also monitoring, well, if there's no bullish confirmation, this could be bearish resistance, right? You go to the chart now and look at that. Look at that resistance now. And this was triggered by an event, and often is the case. But now Bitcoin on the short term, because of this event, has reset. And now we continue to monitor this story, which is the fall to the downside. We didn't hit the target, and we're just monitoring this pullback story. We got the first rejection, and right now, Bitcoin, as markets are settling, right now at this very, very interesting area. It's a crazy area to add into the mix here, but it's this zoomed out upper trend line of this rising channel, right? So Bitcoin right there on the daily chart. So it is at just this area where I'm not even going to sit here and guess what's going to happen, but I will sit, and we're going to look at in a minute just areas of resistance and bullish confirmation areas once again, just like we were doing in today's earlier video. One thing I just want to note, March 14th, the US sold over 9,000 of the 50,000 Bitcoin. This was March 14th. And I find this so interesting. If we go to the daily chart and you look at the daily chart on March 14th, look at this candle right here. If you just check this out, this is like a 10% candle of volatility, right around 10%. And what I'm looking at is right here. So huge, just swing to the upside and rejection at also a key trend line. Interestingly enough, that same upper trend line Bitcoin is testing support at right now. And if you go and you just look at this current candle amidst this narrative of US government selling, look at this candle right around 10%, just below 10% volatility in that previous daily candle that just closed. And you can just see, if I remove this lower high Fibonacci, you just see that insane wick to the downside, insane wick to the upside. So that's just what happened. I find it extremely interesting that this is what happened in March when US government actually did sell their Bitcoin. Now, here's where we are. This entire move that we've been tracking and nobody in the world knows what's going to happen is still just in the middle of its formation, right? You put aside the short-term volatility that just played out in the 6 hour, I think in favor of the bulls at the very least. This wick here, this buy pressure wick, is potential indication that there's still more momentum to kind of retest this trend line once again. But that's something that is yet to be seen, and we're going to track that on the very short term. I think on the support side of things, it really is this trend line right here. We're looking at right around $28,500 or so. It's right around where Bitcoin is. If you go to the daily chart, though, and we look at momentum oscillators, and we just kind of see, well, what's going on with momentum? Kevin Svensson over on Twitter, he's another YouTuber, he's been noting this, and that is this swing of momentum on the histogram on the MACD on the daily chart. So you can see the MACD has cooled down in terms of the MACD line, the signal line, but it's this swing of momentum, which is actually still in this uptrend that could be probably maybe the most reliable leading indicator that the bulls are actually going to make a run for this trend line. Now, other than that, we also have the stock RSI, this quicker moving momentum oscillator coming out of oversold. And you can just see right now it's just happening. This is a daily chart. That could be an indicator that Bitcoin might have this move to the upside. So what I'd be anticipating to the upside is this. On the short term, very short term, what happens at the 20-day moving average? That's right around $29,000. And then obviously this trend line once again around $30,000, because now that Bitcoin has tested that area and failed amidst a fear headline, amidst just whatever's going on social media on the short term, if Bitcoin retests that and breaks above, this could be a very bullish thing for Bitcoin on the Bitcoin charts, because this would play into this whole busted pattern that we've been tracking. We have the pattern where the break to the downside did not hit the target, the pullback to the upside, and this could be a busted pattern. And then it could be a day, 2 days, however long, if the bulls move to the upside and we're actually discussing, if it happened, a $35,000, $36,000 target to the upside. Now, to the downside on the short term, it's this. It's the 50-day moving average, 27,600, and it's the target. It's still the $26,000 target. If Bitcoin is just going to fail and just start trending down, that's the area I'd be watching for Bitcoin to consolidate on the short term. So that's a target to the downside. Resistance to the upside, we know what it is, 30,000 on the very short term. If we want to track that, 29,000, it's like $400 away for Bitcoin. That's what I'll be watching on the short term. But this is just, we're really zoomed in here, everybody. And again, if we go and we look at the weekly chart, there's a way different picture in play on Bitcoin. And that's probably not the best weekly chart, but here we go. Zoomed out, this is the long-term macro view. And this is something I just need to remind myself of when we're really zooming into these charts all the time. I mean, here's a 6-hour chart. So those are my thoughts on Bitcoin. Going over to Cardano. Here's where Cardano's at. Cardano, it's kind of a similar thing. It's not just Bitcoin. It's all of crypto kind of testing these very similar areas. On Cardano, though, on the macro, on the weekly, I'm very kind of watchful of this 50-week moving average. Once again, last week, we were watching to see if we got the close above that 50-week moving average, and we didn't. So it's kind of this urgency factor to see if we can get another weekly close like we had back here above the 50-week moving average. Currently, it's like 40 to 41 cents in that area. What's important about it, and I think what's such big resistance, and this resistance plays into this explosive move that could happen on ADA if ADA breaks this resistance. But it's such big resistance that if ADA is able to escape it, I think Cardano can outperform in the short term. Cardano might be one of those cryptos on CoinMarketCap when most cryptos aren't moving as much. Cardano is just putting in some spectacular gains. It could be that type of scenario, and it could be playing out on this chart. And this is what it looks like on the daily. We just looked at the weekly, but it's this neckline still of this inverse head and shoulders. So the inverse head and shoulders kind of looking something like this. There's the right shoulder. We even had that breakout above the neckline, and we failed to stay above, right? But right now we're re-pulling into that neckline, and just we're literally, as I do the video, we're testing that neckline. Can Cardano make the move above the neckline, start testing this previous swing high, and this is on a daily chart back around 45 cents. What's so notable, though, as we zoom in on this, is right at the neckline, confluent with that neckline, is the 20-day moving average. So right now, even as I do this video, the resistance that ADA is at right now, we are there. So on the very short term, I know we're on a daily, and we're even talking about a pretty large macro pattern, but on the daily chart, this illustrates the short-term resistance, the 20-day moving average, the neckline that you see, it's a dotted green line, that resistance right there. And if you go to the weekly chart, it's the 50-week moving average resistance. All of these resistance areas for ADA, they might play out to be resistance, and ADA might fall. We'll look at that in just a minute. If ADA aggressively makes a move through those areas, that's the bullish confirmation that we're looking for an explosive continuation for ADA. And so when we're looking at the 6-hour chart, it's very zoomed in. This is, I mean, we just opened this 6-hour candle. We just opened the daily candle. This can change as I'm uploading the video, but this is what I'm watching on the short term. Now to the downside, let's go back to the daily chart right here. So to the downside, It's kind of just the continuing story of these moving averages, the 200, the 50, and the 20, allowing them to converge, right? And this is what we've been doing, and we have support at the 50. It's a very nice bounce at the 50-day moving average. And again, the 200-day right down here, the reason why that's notable is if crypto does fall, if markets fall in general tomorrow, and ADA is falling, we have the swing low back here of this new kind of uptrend that ADA has been in for a while to the swing high, and we have this area where ADA might be retracing to. So we get this fall to the downside, maybe a little pop up right now, fails, right? And then we get a continuation to the downside. This is the area I'm watching for. It's 36 cents, right down to around 33 cents. Right in between there is the 200-day moving average around 35 cents. So really, the support area, 33 to 36 cents for ADA. That's, considering we're right around 40 cents, if that happened, we're looking at a fall of up to around 18%. And that's a total fall of around 27%. So this is a big consolidation for ADA, but that ties in also to my macro bullishness. And I know I'm talking about downside and bullishness at the same time, but how could I help it? If ADA is falling 27%, if it happened to this area down here somewhere, and it's still just a higher low as the markets cool down, as ADA momentum cools down and resets and retraces, it's still a higher low for ADA. So that's to the downside if it were to be in play. But right now, on the very short term, I'm watching what happens at this exact area of resistance for ADA, because we get this explosive move for ADA. And don't forget, we just fell out of this channel, right? We were kind of tracking this rising channel for ADA. It might not be charted perfectly, but if ADA is able to break back into that channel, explosive move to the upside, remember all of these macro targets that we have in play for bullish continuation on the midterm for ADA, right around 70 cents. Inverse head and shoulders, and this falling wedge, very much still in play. So this is what I'm watching on the short term. Let me know your comments. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I appreciate each and every one of you. Hit the subscribe and like. I'll see you in the next video. God bless.